Welcome back, everybody. It's Brandon Dukeman here with Will Harvey, and thanks for joining us today for your daily episode of Success. We've got a great show in store for you today, but first, don't forget, join us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/wealth junkies. We've got a ton of members in there right now waiting to interact with you and share their experiences and knowledge and just create a great community. I've got nothing else to say, so I'm going to hand it over to Will to get this interview rolling.
Thanks, Brandon. Today on the show, we have Veli. He is a multi-award-winning entrepreneur and founder. He's a dragon slayer. I have no clue what that means. He started explaining it to us, but I'm just going to let him explain it better. And he has turned into a sustainable business growth consultant. So with that, Janner, thanks so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Can you just give the listeners a little bit more about your background and what got you to where you are today?
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, guys, for having me on board.
Yeah, thank you.
Our listeners. So I'm Jana. I guess if we go right back, I've been an entrepreneur since back in school, where I used to hustle my friends in the playground, selling sweets to them. Then it went on to selling little Tamagotchis. I don't know if any of your listeners are that old to remember that.
I remember them. So
that's awesome.
Biggest paper round in the block. Probably done my back no good. Then kind of went on and really didn't fit into working with corporates or businesses. I kind of always had this another part of me that wanted to do different, bigger things. And 6 years ago, set up a sustainable fashion care brand called Liquid Proof, which disrupted the market at the time, brought in new technology that essentially prolonged the life of people's garments. Which I don't know if you know, but fashion is the second largest polluter to the planet. So I really wanted to make a change and a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
That quickly grew into a business that now works in over 400 stores globally with some big players like Selfridges, Liberties of London, Nordstrom. And I couldn't fit into doing a 9-to-5. So wanted to start something of my own. And that's what I'm doing now. And since exiting Liquid Proof, I help others achieve their goals, their visions, and help them scale their businesses.
Nice. So is Liquid Proof really the first big venture that you set out to do?
It was, yes. So, well, you can say like first proper business,
Right.
Was practice. So I was, Liquid Proof was, yes, I was the founder and I started that.
Okay. And what did you do to start that? How did you raise capital? I mean, and where did the vision for that come from? Because most people don't, they think of, buying real estate or something a little bit simpler than
or they want to create, they want to be a designer and create the clothing rather than, the stuff to protect the clothing.
Yeah. How'd you come up with that idea?
Good question. So I guess, about 6-7 years ago. So when I grew up, we have I was massive onto natural history, the planet, and animal documentaries. And over here in the UK, we have an amazing chap called Sir David Attenborough, that narrates the programs, and he's got such an incredible way of presenting. And I grew up with that. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an explorer, or kind of like Indiana Jones, but saving animals, right? But then from there, I get actually thinking about it. My mum painted a jungle theme in my room, so I had animals,
right?
Or I had a safari bed, which was a truck. Which
nice.
This is only last week actually.
I moved out today.
Right.
No, but I guess it stems from there. If I'm trying to think where it all stems back from, it's from having a love of the planet and nature.
Mm-hmm.
But to bring it into where Liquid Proof came from is that I was fed up of when I spent a lot of money on my suits and shoes, that they would always get ruined. And the products that were on the market back then were toxic, they were damaging to the environment, damaging to human health, and actually damaged the very items that you were using on, which kind of for me was like, why are we doing that?
Right. Why are you buying something to protect your clothes that's actually ruining it?
Yeah, exactly. So I've got a passion for fashion. I love the environment. I'm into science. I actually studied pharmaceutical science at university, but quickly realized that wasn't for me. So after a year, I pivoted and went on to do other things. So here I am. I'm in London, which is generally a wet city. In fact, it's raining right now, and I was ruining my items. The products on the market were damaging, and I wanted to fix it. So I spent 8 months of research and development trying to figure out how I could fix this problem. And after that about time, I collaborated with a lab, and we developed Liquid Proof, which was a completely eco-friendly, non-toxic, odorless, non-flammable protector spray for all materials. And to put this into context, most protectors, other than being toxic, they're very weak, but they don't actually protect for very long, and they last maybe 3 to 4 days, sometimes a week. The protector that I created, so Liquid Proof, actually lasts years.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
It took probably 2 A5 notebooks to brainstorm names and ideas, and I came up with Liquid Proof. So
that's a brilliant name for it, because it's what it is, right? I mean, that's what it does. So Jana, let me ask, so you said you spent 8 months researching and studying. What were you doing? How were you making money during those 8 months? Did you have a job? What were you doing?
Yes. So at the time, and for about 18 months prior to that, I was a headhunter in insurance. Mm-hmm. So I was, and I was, my role was to search and find key influential people, movers and shakers in the insurance industry, pick them out of a team and put them into another more ambitious team. So I was learning ways and means of finding people, and also building the confidence in being able to contact anyone while they were at work and try and get them to buy into a new role. So in that time, I'd found out how to find people online through websites, Google searches, like X-ray search. So that's what my paid job was, and it was very good. It was a very well-paid job, hence why I was able to afford some nicer things at that time. And
was it a commission-based job?
It is, yes. Yeah. So essentially, what you do, this is kind of also where I picked up habits and tricks on how to make money. Essentially, like you eat what you kill. There, if you don't place someone,
right.
So it was intense. It was a very hard role where you're trying to essentially get buy-in from these people that don't know who you are, that them moving jobs is a good move. And the commissions, when you did that, were great, sometimes up to 30% of the yearly salary. And when you're moving people that are...
Wow.
So what I quickly found out is that most of recruitment place people where there's a need for someone in a role, which is good. You look through a CV and then you place them into a vacancy. What I was doing was creating vacancies for people. So I would go after people with a big book of business, so people that generated revenue, and I knew that was attractive to business. So I'd ring someone up while they're at work on their office line, and I'll say, "Hi, I'm Jenna. We haven't spoken before, but I've heard you're pretty big deal in construction industry, and I would love to have a conversation with you about a role that I'm working on. And I appreciate now you're sat amongst colleagues. So if you could just reel off your mobile number and we can meet for lunch, say in about 2 hours, and I can explain to you how I can help you make a transition into something incredible that I'm working on right now." Things like that. So you just get into the flow of really good conversation and not being afraid to pick up the phone.
Yeah, I'm sure those sales skills really helped and carried over into Liquid Proof, right?
To a certain extent. So I was very sales focused back then, and that was what I had to. I had to. But what I quickly realized is that it was about communication. Mm-hmm. Fundamentally, we are all salesmen. We're all salespeople. Every day we're selling, but it's what you want at the end of the day is and how you communicate it. So it was quite tough in terms of hard phone calls and meetings. But really, if you understand what that person wants and you can deliver it, then it's actually quite easy. With Liquid Proof, it was more about I had a problem. So my problem was that I was pissed off with the products that are on the market and always damaging my garments. I then looked on the internet and researched during this R&D phase that the fashion industry is a huge polluter to the planet. A lot of businesses were struggling with trying to create or develop a non-toxic protector. And from there, I was like, right, I can solve this problem. And the gap in the market was huge enough. And I stepped into it. And people wanted what I had created. And demand was big enough. And we quickly won multiple awards and was invited onto a program called Dragon's Den, which is where the Dragon Slayer thing comes from.
This is what I wanted you to explain.
That was my next question coming up. It sounds super interesting.
Before we get into all that, why did you not continue just being a headhunter? Because it sounds like that was very lucrative. You were making good money. Why not just keep doing that?
Yeah, look, now you sound like everyone else, and my parents.
Yeah.
Look, that was how I was making money at the time. But what I'd understood and my passion was then about solving this problem. I'm a problem. I'm a classic entrepreneur. And that need and that pull was far bigger than me placing people into their ideal roles. I wanted to create a lifestyle for my own, for myself. So I was.
That's great.
My role at that point was placing people to have a life, to be in a role that they really enjoyed and thrived in, so they could live a lifestyle that they wanted. I had created a solution to a problem, which then meant that I could live the lifestyle that I always wanted. And through doing that, I was doing good for the planet. And ultimately, that was the pull. I didn't care about making money anymore. It was about fixing this big problem. So, yeah.
So how did the transition go from that into this? Did you quit cold turkey? Did you save up some money and slowly just transition slowly, or like, how did that go?
Yeah. Okay. So during this time, right, during being a headhunter, I was reading a lot of books, business books. I was listening to a hell of a lot of Jim Rohn, which was the mentor of Tony Robbins.
Yeah, great guy.
Right. He was about persistence, and I also read an incredible book which kind of flipped my mindset into a growth mindset, which is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm sure you read that.
Yep. Sitting on the bookshelf. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, look, that book changed my whole outlook on life and my mindset. So I was always focused on the closed mindset. You must do this, fit in and I just evolved on that. And to get to your question, Will, I saved money, but I also, in my spare time, was working on building out Liquid Proof. And I would make sure that, firstly, the demand was there. So I was building up the business case. I was making sure the product was down. I was recruiting friends that could help me, brand the product, because at that time I wasn't a branding expert. And I brought an old school friend to help me create the logo and the design of everything. And then I started selling to family and friends, like, is this something you want? And I started selling product. And then after about 3 months, so that between like October and Christmas time, we're selling more and more bottles to family and friends. They introduced me to a business, which was kind of our first official business meeting, where I had to pitch the product for them to resell. And they sold suede boots, so it was perfect for them. And I was just basically getting my ducks in a row for ready to transition. So at Christmas time, I said to my boss, look, I'm focusing now 100% on Liquid Proof, because all these people tell you to jump and do everything, do it 100%. So like,
peace, I'm out.
There you go. I'm done. I'm not coming back in Christmas. And he said, look, Jan, I wish you all the best. And before you go, can I buy 2 bottles?
Wow. That's awesome. That's great. So Janner, how did you balance the work schedule and the business schedule while you were doing that? Was it go to work, come home, and work on the business until 2, 3 in the morning, and then do it all over again, or kind of walk us through a little bit of the schedule that you were working on?
Okay, so I think it's about working smart here. Okay, so read up on and listened to was one really great book that I recommend, which I'm sure a lot of your readers probably have read, but if they haven't, they've been living under a rock. And it's called 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Okay, and that's not about working 4 hours. That's about making your hours work for you. So I was planning like crazy. So I would, to be more productive in the number of hours that I had, I needed to make sure I was getting more done than everyone around me. Mm-hmm. So wake up early. So I'd wake up 5 o'clock, get the train into London for just before 7 o'clock, go to the gym for an hour. Then between 8 and 9, get ready for work, my headhunting work, and start planning what that morning was going to look like in terms of recruitment, headhunting, placings. That would be my day. So I'd then bulk batch my processes. So first thing in the morning, quick, check the emails before anyone else would get in, then make calls. So the first thing to money would be placing people. So making calls to chase up placements. I would do that all at once. Then I would check my emails again at say 12:30 to 1 o'clock. Then go out to lunch to meet a few more potential prospects, come back, calls again for a batch of time. And then once I would then go back to the gym. Gym for me was getting me in the right sort of mindset. It was a way of kind of releasing a lot of the built up, everything that built up.
The stress and all that throughout the day.
And it just puts me in a great mindset. Then I would, on the commute home, I would then do more research. So on the train home, I'll be doing research, or I'll be reading up like marketing books and bits and pieces like that. I'd get home and I would plan what my next day would look like. And then I would say work on the website or the email marketing campaigns, or in that sense, when I had both the jobs, well, not jobs, but the job and then the side hustle, which was going to become my full-time hustle, was very batched. Like I knew exactly what I was doing, and I made it easier for myself. So I wouldn't like make a call and then check an email and then make a call, check. So you just do your calls and then you do your admin. Then you do your calls, then your admin. Then you would do, say, creative work all in the batch. So my, I guess, advice would be to batch and read 4 Hour Work Week. There's way more tips in there than I can reel off right now.
Yeah, it's an awesome book. I love it. He's big. Tim Ferriss is big on batching, which really it helps you get a lot more productive. And one thing I heard there that I really liked was you talked about how before the following day you would plan out everything that you were going to do. And that for me, when I started doing that, my productivity went up like crazy. I would say like 10 times, because every minute of the day was accounted for and I knew exactly what I had to get done, and I time blocked and got it done. And it sounds like you did something very similar.
That's true. Yeah. Well, that's a good piece to do. I think if you plan, then you've got it down. You know what you've got to do. Where most people fail, it's not the planning, it's the actual execution against the plan. So most people, and another thing that Jim Rohn says, right? Most of us major in the minor things. Okay.
Absolutely.
One thing you want to make sure is whatever you're executing against is going to move the dial. And there's a great kind of video that's floating around YouTube where a professor is speaking in a lecture, and he says he has an empty jar, and he has some big rocks, some medium-sized pebbles, and some sand. And he says, "Is all this going to fit in this jar?" So the kids go, "Okay, well, let's put the sand in." So they start putting the small stuff in, and then suddenly they can't fit the big rocks in because it's taken up the jar. But what you've got to do is put the big rocks in first, the smaller pebbles around the big rocks, and then you fill the rest with the sand, and it all fits in the jar.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's from I don't know if this is the original place, but Traction, the book by Gino Wickman, he talks about that. And your rocks are the big things that you need to get done, and then the smaller pebbles are less important things than the sand and the water is like everything else, all the distractions and just the minutia of things. And yeah, he says that most people pour in the water first and then the sand, and then they can't fit in the rocks. So the way you should do it is get your rocks done first, get the important things done, and then you can fit in all the other crap around it. So that's such a good, everything you just said was awesome. So
Can I add to that one? What tactic that I love to use now and in day-to-day life is turn off the notifications. Okay, so the world is set up to fuck you up. Right?
Yep, it definitely is.
It's there to capture your attention, and of course, the way that Facebook, Instagram, these social media platforms are monetized and gain wealth and stature is time on the platform. So when you're off the platform, guess what they want to do? They want to get you back onto that platform as quick as possible. So they ping you a message. Then you've got all these social notifications. You've got other people's work colleagues coming up to you, asking you to, people need to value their time, because you can always make more money. You can never make more time.
Very
So
true.
make sure you look after your time like it's the only thing you have, because you're never going to.
yeah, that's right. Janner, can you?
Go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to ask you. You mentioned that you had a partner in this, right? In your the business that you started.
I was the founder, so I was single
Okay,
founder.
I might have misunderstood that. Okay, well, can you tell us about just how you said you exited that company, right?
Yeah, so I essentially, after bringing on, growing, scaling the team and the company, the way people say, and with the books you read, is that you essentially, and the best way to be, the best thing for an entrepreneur is to bring in people that are far better than you in their each individual area.
Absolutely.
You're bringing on a marketing person that's exceptional. You want to make sure they're smarter than you, okay? And that's, it's a thing that Henry Ford, created his incredible wealth for, is that, in fact, I even think he got sued for not being smart enough, right? And they used to say, how can you run a company like this? You're not smart enough. And he said, look, well, yes, I may not know all the answers. The questions you're asking me for, I don't have the answers. But in my desk, in my office, and on my desk, I have a button. And when someone asks me a question like this, I press a button and the right person comes through the door and gives the answer. So the smart thing to do is to recruit incredible people that are far better than you are. And you essentially, what I did was I had a team that meant I didn't need to be in the company.
That's
And
perfect.
during this time as well, during being involved with Liquidproof and the fashion industry, everyone is now complaining about the state the planet is in. Climate crisis isn't something that we need to be shying away from. And I realized that Liquidproof has a small part to play in that, in terms of trying to make a better impact in the fashion industry. But there are more substantial ways that I can have a positive impact. So now that Liquidproof's running, it's doing its great thing. I am now focused on a far bigger, huge project where I can hopefully change the world for the better. And part of that is also meaning that if I share my knowledge and experience with other people and business owners doing great things, they can then go on and do better things. So it's like a ripple effect. Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love the mission that you're on too, and it really goes with kind of the theme. Make sure you get to the point where you can work on the business, not in the business, and that's exactly what you've done. Is find the people who are better than you to work in your business, so that way you can manage, work on that business with those people who are better than you to grow.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
we kind of skipped over your Dragon Slayer attribute that you have. So let's talk about that a little bit and hear about that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, look, the business was going great. We were getting pretty viral on Instagram. We rose rose with that. The sneakerheads were loving us because our product did actually what it said on the bottle, and they were able to protect their £5,000 sneakers. And we were just getting notoriety. We won some awards, and from that, I remember this. I was sat in my spare room at the time, which was my office at the time, and I had a person give me a call and say, "Hey, look, have you ever considered raising money through Dragon's Den?" Now, Dragon's Den is similar to Shark Tank. It's a TV program where they have 5 hugely successful entrepreneurs and investors, and they want to give away their money. So what they're doing is trying to invest into companies. And now you have these entrepreneurs and co-founders come into the den and pitch their business ideas. And then the 5 dragons decide whether they want to invest in you or not. So here I am, I'm on the phone to someone and they invited me on essentially. So, which is great. So yeah, I essentially had the chance to pitch on national TV in front of millions of people, my product, my baby. And it was a scary moment. So what I did was I prepared like fuck. I went to pitches up. I was basically telling my friends to bring in 5 random people that never heard of me or the business. I'll just walk in and pitch to them and see if I could win them over and get them to invest in me. So I did some so planned for a while, had about 6 months to get ready. And I really wanted to make sure that I didn't want to be that person on TV, and ahhing, not knowing my numbers. I just wanted to wow the crowd. And it was my chance. So the show came around and I stood in front of the dragons. I did my pitch was essentially I had pre-treated products. So I had a couple of pairs of suede shoes on a desk. I had hats. I had various garments that were protected in liquid proof. And I was pouring liquids all over them. And there's actually on YouTube now, if you Google my name.
Yeah, we'll make sure that video's in our show notes for you, so that way, because I want to watch it too.
Yeah, it's been said by quite a few people, and I'm grateful for it and thankful that I'm humbled that they've said it's one of the most amazing pictures they've actually seen on that show. But essentially, I don't know, should I spoil it or should I send people to the show? What do you want me to say?
I'm interested. I want to know. So if you want to spoil it, then
spoil
you
away.
can spoil it. Yeah.
Oh, there I am. I pour liquids all over these products, these shoes. The dragons are like, wow. And for my finale, I stood in a little kid's paddling pool as to not ruin the floor. And I opened up a bottle of really cheap red wine and I just poured it over myself and it just rolled off. And
no way. That's incredible.
So from there, it was smooth sailing and successfully gained investment. And
that's awesome. So they ended up putting some money into your company.
Yeah. So that's where the Dragon Slayer comes from.
That's
nice.
Awesome. The product sounds awesome.
Yeah. Tell us about what did they put in? What were the terms of their investment?
So at the time, so for me, going on Dragon's Den was about firstly seeing if other people believed in what I was trying to achieve, and I knew I had an incredible product, so I just wanted to showcase it. We were making money, we were profitable every year from start, which was good, and a rarity in these days and age where people are always trying to raise funds. But I was there for mentorship and guidance on the next stages. So the terms were, I got 100 grand for 50% of the company, which was a bloody good deal at the time. But the money was irrelevant. It was more about the value of what the Dragons brought to the party, the introduction,
right, and the exposure.
Years, yeah. So that was the deal. So it was 100K for 50%.
That's great. That's so cool that you were able to do that.
Yeah, that's an awesome experience for you. But how long had the business been up and running before you had the opportunity to be on there?
So we were actually invited on within the first 18 months of business.
Wow.
And by the time the actual show aired, which was another kind of nearly a year later from actually recording, we business 2 years.
Wow. And I'm sure that once that aired, did you see it like a huge uptick in sales and followers and all that?
Yeah. So it was on January the 3rd, 2016 is when we aired, and which was it's the last Sunday before everyone goes back to their
Absolutely.
huge viewership, viewers. It was viewed by over like 2.5 million people on the night. We actually had our website crash.
Wow.
We actually, from my contact within Amazon, because we basically became a supplier to Amazon, so they would buy product from us and sell it on their platform. And we actually crashed that portion of the site. We then were top trending shoe aftercare product for the whole year on Amazon.
No kidding.
20,000 hits within the first 3 minutes of being on the show.
Wait, say that one more time. 20,000 kits in 3 minutes?
Yeah, hits. Yeah. So 20,000 people came to the site within the first 3 minutes in it.
Wow.
Wow.
We lost because the site crashed. We didn't get the
full analytics of what people were trying to do.
But over the next day into work was crazy. It was literally had 2 new starters starting that day. So it was their first time in the office, meeting the rest of the team. And we would literally just answering the phone call, putting it down, answering the phone, answering emails. It was a very momentous occasion for us.
That was probably fun.
It was fun, and it was painful at the same time because
I believe it.
We run out of stock, having to tell people to wait, which was not something that I would like to do again. If I had gone back in time, I would have hoped that the show gave us more time to prepare, because they only gave us before Christmas to let us know that we were going to be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're slot. So yeah, we only had like a couple of business days to actually prepare all of our packaging. We kind of had product, but we needed to get other things like wrapping and bits and pieces like that. So
right. Well, what are some things that you're working on now, and what does the future look like for you?
Okay, so right now I really want to help entrepreneurs and business owners scale. So essentially live their vision. And through my experience of scaling Liquid Proof and helping other people along the way, I now want to spend time with them so they can scale, learn from my experience, my failures and my success, and really distill into them what it takes to scale a company. So I'm doing that now. I'm really passionate about helping businesses that have a social impact point of view. So people that are doing great things for the environment. I host 3 podcasts. I am writing a book. I'm also doing a docu-series in the new year. So it may have started by the time your listeners listen to this. But I'm essentially highlighting incredible people and teams that are doing great things for the environment. And I do that through the podcast and the book and the TV series, which will be the one. So I'm staying busy. And for the vision of the future, I'm also working on a platform, a community. It's called Kind Community, which essentially disrupting how we're going to start consuming goods. So I believe that consumerism is actually the main reason why the planet is the way it is now. We're over consuming on goods. Yes, we want nice things, but within reason, right?
Right.
Are we shipping things from across the globe when someone down the road could actually make a better product? But right now, the sustainable isn't attainable. It's generally out of reach for the everyday person. It's quite expensive because of the level of work that goes into these products to make them last, or because the ingredients are a higher cost. So I'm trying to disrupt that through Kind Community, and that's going to keep me busy for many years to come.
So who's an ideal client for you? If somebody's listening to this that's started a business or something like that, what is the ideal client in terms of size and all of that?
Okay, so I have kind of three clients. So I'm keen to mentor entrepreneurs that want to take their idea to a million. I have some great techniques and strategies to help that happen. I can essentially coach teams and consult in teams that are already on that journey. So whether they're 250K plus in terms of revenue, and scale that. Or I can work with corporates that want to essentially innovate or create a startup within that corporate. So generally call it incubator or a boot camp. So I can do that. But an ideal client would be someone that wants to scale an incredible business idea that will have a positive impact on the planet.
That's
awesome.
That's good stuff.
And like you said, there's a lot of people. Everybody now is trying to change the climate because it's going downhill. So I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that have some decent ideas but don't really know how to start or how to grow. So you sound like the guy to go to for that.
Yeah, please. I'd love to help and bring them into the network. I've got connections between investors through to even like my partners within the growth agency that I work with that have the right methodology to help people scale, and even just bounce this sounding board. It's a dog eat dog world out there, but sometimes you need good people around you to help you scale. And ultimately, you are the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. You need to be surrounding yourself with incredible people that back you, but also question some of your ideas to make you stronger and help you develop into the person you can be.
Yeah, that's right. Totally agree.
I love that.
Well, Janner, we can continue talking forever, but unfortunately we got a little time constraints here. Try to keep the show in decent length, but we're going to jump into our Moments of Truth segment here. It's the same 7 questions that we ask all of our guests. And I'm excited to hear how you answer some of these. So first one here, who is your success role model?
Gary V.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm actually reading his book right now, crushing it. And it's every page I'm sitting there writing notes down about something that I can do, or, something that needs to be done. And, he's a great dude.
Honestly, he's essentially, do you want me to expand on this, or do we need to keep things flowing?
No,
go ahead.
What I love about Gary is that he is a practitioner. He takes action. He goes for it, right? He does. He goes and does things. And then he shows you exactly what he's doing, right? The problem with many people, and I touched on this earlier, is that many of us have an idea or we know what to do, but we don't actually do it. We don't actually go and grab the ball by the horns and run with it. And I love that about him. And I was lucky enough to have dinner with him a couple of years ago in New York. And he is the same guy face to face than he is on stage, behind the phone. Like, he's a really nice dude. Like, what I admire about him is he's making gratitude, thankfulness, and kindness and empathy cool. There's been too many times in the past where there's been some strict leaders that have imposed maybe some negative ways of doing things.
Right.
So he's all about kindness, which I love.
That's great. What's your biggest success?
I would say it's got to be my TEDx talk.
Oh, you didn't bring that one up earlier.
We got plenty of stuff to link in the. We got plenty of stuff to link in the show notes.
Yeah,
tell us about that.
That was a moment where it's about telling my story in front of a crowd that had invested into being there. Listening to you is an incredible time. It was about what I spoke about is a premise on about overcoming fear and not being set in failure. So don't get put off by failure. Essentially, step through it. So generally, people are scared of failure, and that's a big fear for them. Will I look bad? Will I fall on will my friends laugh at me? Will my mum and dad point finger at me and be like, you shouldn't have done that? But ultimately, failure always comes before success. I mean, look it up in the dictionary. There you go.
Yep.
When I spoke about that, it was a big moment, and I loved it. It was fantastic.
I'm sure that was a great experience for you and great opportunity just to kind of spread your word. But next question here, what's a typical day for you now look like?
Wow. I think I touched on it earlier. So
you did, yeah, a little bit.
Most of my time is spent connecting with great people and with my clients in terms of helping them expand and helping them discover the next step forward. I spend my time waking up early, going to the gym, eating well.
What time do you wake up?
Okay, so I now wake up at 6 in the morning. I did a stint last year where I was waking up at 4:45. But I quickly realized after reading Why We Sleep, that sleep is a very important part of us.
So you did wake up at 4:45. Now you wake up at 6.
Yeah, so I gave myself an hour in bed.
That's good.
You said you read a book called Why We Sleep?
Yeah.
And
I can't. The author's name escapes me right now. But essentially, sleep is a huge part in who we are, how we perform. Many of us have imposed, sleep is for the weak. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like that's what I used to have, that mentality. But actually, what I'm starting to realize is that you can have a good night's sleep when you need to. You should. Now, don't get me wrong. If you've got a deadline, then by all means, don't just sleep. Like get it done. But most of the time, try and sleep very well, and you will perform better. Your brain will kind of reset, and you'll be far more creative and productive the next day. And there's some stats in the book that having 2 hours less sleep is the same as having something like 4 or 5 pints of beer.
Wow.
Your motor neuron skills greatly reduce far more than it does with alcohol.
Mm. Wow,
that's wild.
That sounds like a pretty interesting book to have to read.
Yeah,
it opens your eyes. I mean, it's definitely important. And I think especially with listeners that may have, just coming out of college, uni, like definitely spent some sleepless nights either partying or revising, making sure they're cramming as much information in as possible for an exam. Now is the time to make sure that you plan your day well enough so you can get adequate sleep. And that to know that you get adequate sleep is, don't set your alarm, but wake up naturally and then go and get some sunlight and then see how you feel.
Yeah,
I definitely need that book.
So Jeff Bezos says that. So next question, what is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is probably, let me think about this. It would be, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Now, you may not have heard that one before. That's because I have created this set, okay? And I'll quote, I don't mean to say that to be big-headed or say that I know best, but when I've looked back in my successes of life and reading up on many successful people, you have to make sure that you're comfortable with the uncomfortable, i.e. after struggle, through struggle, you are stronger, okay? You go to the gym, you lift weights, and that's hard, right? And then after that, I'm stronger. And that's just how it works, okay? So get comfortable with being uncomfortable because life is hard. And as soon as you realize that, it gets easier.
Very true. You got to step outside your comfort zone. So what are some of your hobbies?
That's a good one. Does the gym count? Does working out count?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great healthy hobby to have.
Yeah, so I'm into that. And I love cooking. So for me, there's nothing quite like preparing a nice meal and like just actually preparing a meal and sitting down with others and enjoying it. So don't order off of Deliveroo. Don't go to restaurants are nice. Don't get me wrong. Deliveroo does its thing, delivery food, but the preparation of the food is the part that really matters. You're de-stressing, and you're putting the effort in to enjoy this great bit of food that you're about to eat, and it tastes better, in my opinion.
Absolutely, definitely does. It's just the takeout and delivery is just a little easier.
Yeah, I was gonna say I might disagree on that one because I absolutely hate cooking, and I think it tastes better when you're completely lazy and order it. I'm totally kidding. I still make food, but no, that's great. That's an awesome hobby.
I think this plays down to some of the things that we're touching on, right? The world has become accustomed with on-demand, instant
gratification. Yeah.
And we're moving away from what it actually takes to be successful, and that's long, hard struggles and like putting the effort in. It's about working, right? Yes, the food from a professional chef may taste better than if you created it, but over time, with you consistently making food and creating food and prepping the food, you'll get better. So then eventually you'll become as skilled as a great chef, and it will taste better because you have put the effort in.
Absolutely. Very true.
Yep. What is the best business book that you've read?
Oh, I had to think long and hard about this one. I was going to say Think and Grow Rich, but I've already mentioned that. But that's not a business book as such. It's just a principle. So business book would be probably Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits?
Yeah, that may or may not be a business book, but essentially what it plays on is that tiny little incremental improvements stacked up on themselves over a long amount of time creates huge change. So, for example, if you take the number 1, okay, and you put it to the power of 0 times 365, which is the number of days, you're going to get 365. Now, look at number 1, and we do it to the power of 0.1, which is 1%. So let's say we get 1% better every day. That turns out to be 37.7. So you're 37.7 times more better than you were at the start. And that's just being 1% better each day.
Wow.
It talks about Atomic Habits, making better improvements each day. So I highly recommend it.
That's great.
I've never heard it put that way. It's pretty interesting. I like that concept. So last question here, Janner. If there's one key piece of advice you could leave our listeners with about achieving success, what would it be?
Take action.
Love it.
Simple, but so true.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, like we can get really complicated about this, and many people try and sell your course or sell your book, or you have to go to what it actually comes down to is taking action. Everything we do is about that. Okay, you can't build muscles by reading about doing bicep curls. Okay,
right.
You have to go and lift weights. Same within business. Okay, if you want to achieve success, you have to put in the work. Go and do it, and it's super simple. Now, you're not going to make a huge amount of money by telling people do it, but that would be my piece of advice.
That's perfect, because it's true. Everybody sits there and comes up with these great ideas or talks about all these ideas that ways they won't work, but you'll have no idea until you actually sit there and do it. So I love it. Janner, how can our listeners get in contact with you?
Okay, so I'm pretty out there on Instagram and TikTok. So feel free for people to connect me through there, which is at Jana Veli, or on TikTok it's Jana.Veli.
Can you spell that so people can understand?
Because we totally butched the name in the beginning. So
it's CANERVELI.
Perfect. Yeah, we called him Canner, and he yelled at us and told us we're ridiculous. No, just kidding. But Janner, we appreciate you being on the show today, and for our listeners, definitely reach out to him if you feel like you've got that business that he can help you success.
Yep. Take action.
Excel and take action. Do all that. And again, Janner, we appreciate you being on. And for our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to the show so that way you're not missing any of our daily episodes. And join us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/wealth junkies. Again, we've got a bunch of members in there right now. Everybody's contributing, and we're all after the same thing. So, Janner, we appreciate you being on today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I've also subscribed, so I'll see you there.
Awesome. Thank you.